Good morning and welcome to Get Real America.
I'm Bill Edwards.
I'm Brittany Brown.
Glad to have you aboard on this Tuesday morning.
Yes, and 9/11 yesterday, and I think for me, Bill, there's so many things that you forget that happened. Mm-hmm. One of those things is that Donald Trump, he was there. He actually sent a lot of his workers to help with the cleanup. Mm-hmm. And people claim that he's like a horrible human being, he's a racist, he's all these things, right? But Donald Trump did so much before he ever was going to be president, before he ever wanted credit for things. He really loves America, and he really has always felt that way.
Exactly. Appreciates the free enterprise system that has made him so wealthy, unlike some George Soros types who have relied on the free enterprise system that's made them so wealthy, and they hate the place for it for whatever reason. Somebody figured that out, Bill Gates included. But we found out that Joe Biden did so much too, because apparently he's a clone.
Yeah, I guess he was at ground zero. Who knew?
Sure. Yeah, amazing that he was there the next day. At least that's what he told us when he made that great stop in Alaska yesterday to honor the 9/11 victims. Oh, wait a minute. They were refueling the airplane.
Yep.
Yeah, that's what it was.
Exactly what it is.
Mm-hmm. I guess he had finished his nap and made the statement. Didn't mention anything. I wish there'd been some protesters there that said, you're taking away our livelihood by cutting off our oil supplies here.
I don't think they would have allowed that to make any sort of media or press.
No. That's why you deserve more from your media. That's why we need your help.
Exactly. And I think we have a clip of the infamous Joe Biden in Alaska.
Yeah.
To renew our sacred vow, never forget. Never forget. We never forget. Each of us, each of those precious lives stolen too soon when evil attacked. Ground Zero in New York. And I remember standing there the next day and looking at the building. I felt like I was looking through the gates of hell. It looked so devastating because from where you could stand.
For a guy who forgets a lot, never forgetting it seems almost like seems almost ironic, doesn't it? But the batteries in their irony meters have all died.
Yeah, well, I'm also curious. He's figured out how to be two places at once because he was also recorded being in the Senate that day that he claims to be at Ground Zero. So pretty amazing stuff from the president as usual.
Who knew?
One of the things that I did hear was that he only actually did a speech because they had to refuel the airplane. They were not. It wasn't that he would have. If they didn't have to refuel, he probably wouldn't have done anything. But
been a nonstop flight. He wouldn't have seen Alaska.
Yeah, well, and one of the things was, well, after 22 years, the president stopped going to Hawaii for Pearl Harbor. So I guess 22 years is, the stopping point for when we forget things. But I think it's disgraceful that he planned anything around 9/11. I don't understand why we have decided that 9/11 doesn't matter, or that, it's in the past. It was a devastating day, and people are still have sacrificed so much. A lot of their family, are still impacted by some of the cleanup that they did, or going into the buildings to save people. And a lot of people lost their lives for being brave that day.
Well, people are still dying from 9/11. We've had people passing away from the devastation of breathing in that air that day, that had developed all sorts of diseases that we didn't know, that didn't even show up. I had a good friend who died, a Vietnam veteran, a friend who died unexpectedly in his mid-50s after he'd been back from Vietnam for over 20 years. Because he had been around the Agent Orange stuff and didn't know, but there was something growing in his lungs that never showed up until all of a sudden it was too late to stop it. And So these continue. This continues to cause devastation. And it took a lot of people's Congress in Congress getting their knees bloody, begging for more funds to help these people that helped out on 9/11. If you'll recall, they wouldn't. There was a reluctance to pay any extra money to people who had were suddenly coming down with these things. Well, that was something. Well, he got cancer. Well, he got cancer because of this. Breathing in whether it was asbestos or all that dust and everything else that contained human debris and everything else that piled up. When you remember that 17 or 1,800 people died in those towers as they came down.
Well, and here's the other thing, Bill. We give so much money away to people that are fully capable of working. And, we just allow them to live off of the government. But the people that have done brave things or that have sacrificed and can no longer work, we treat them like garbage.
Mm-hmm.
It really is frustrating. And this speaks to, a government does not love its people. And I think we're seeing that time and time again. But I don't know where we go from here. I feel like the president just doing what he did, snubbing all the 9/11 people. How do you think he's going to do in New York after this?
Mm-hmm.
I mean, he is not worried about his reelection.
I know, and that bothers me more than anything else because they seem to think that the fix is in. That Kamala Harris said as much on I guess she was on Mace the Nation on CBS on Sunday that they weren't going to lose. And I remember, what was the question where they asked her, well, what do you think of Donald Trump being the opponent again or something? She said, I don't understand the question. What was complicated about that, as a matter of fact? But continuing, we said, remember, I told you yesterday that we were the first, our firefighters and first responders here were going up to help out. And we were the first ones on the scene with cadaver dogs that did so much to find people or get, and the few people that were rescued from that day. And so we had our own, and so our firefighters were affected here, as well as other first responders, sheriffs, and police officers and things. And we had a ceremony here yesterday to commemorate that as well. Our firefighters, God bless them, had a special day as well.
The News at 5, I'm Mike Seela. For many of us, the September 11th attacks feel like just yesterday, a day forever etched into our minds. In the Coastal Empire and Low Country, several communities coming together to hold remembrances to mark the day. Our Flynn Snyder is live outside the Savannah Fire Headquarters on Oglethorpe Avenue. Flynn, the department had its own ceremony that they held this morning.
Yeah, Mike, that's right. Good evening. Firefighters here say they feel connected to all first responders and that the pain of the attacks still is with them more than 2 decades later. Across Savannah today, several groups holding ceremonies, vowing to never forget.
The sound of the big ducal alarm bell rang through city streets as firefighters honored first responders on the 22nd anniversary of the September 11th terror attacks. Radio calls marking each moment of the day played through the firehouse as crews stood under an American flag, remembering the 343 New York firefighters who died in the attack.
We spend more time with our firefighter brethren and sisters and than we do with our own families. So it cuts straight to our heart when we see someone else doing all they can do, because we would do the same thing if the opportunity presented itself.
At a meeting of Savannah's Rotary Club, a compelling speech to mark the day. Retired Lieutenant Colonel Ted Anderson spoke with members about being in the Pentagon when American Airlines Flight 77 crashed into the building.
The walls caved in, the ceiling came down, lights went out, and this giant sucking sound of all of the air going toward the fueling fire. What I remember. I remember that sound.
Club members say Anderson was awarded the Soldier's Medal for Valor after being credited with helping multiple people escape the Pentagon.
The smoke was just overwhelming, and but we had the opportunity to bring 2 or 3 people out, and unfortunately, there were people left behind that we did not have the opportunity to get to. So That's what sticks with me more than anything.
Anderson still struggles with the emotions of the day, but says he wanted to speak so that others would never forget what happened, an idea echoed by Savannah firefighters.
Just sort of a constant reminder that of their sacrifice and the sacrifice that we are willing to do here at Savannah.
And remembrances for the anniversary kicked off yesterday when the Savannah Fire Department hosted a memorial stair climb at the city's Civic Center. Hundreds came out to climb 110 flights of stairs, symbolizing the efforts of first responders who climbed the World Trade Center 22 years ago today. Reporting live in Savannah, Flint Snyder, WTOC News.
Remarkable.
Yeah, yesterday is so 9/11 is a day that I will never forget in my lifetime, and I hope that we become more patriotic and we teach our children what 9/11 is and what happened and how many brave people were there and why America is so great. I think that was something that brought us together, and it's really sad just to see how far apart we've become.
Yeah, it really brought us together for about 2 months. Yeah. Where all of a sudden the Red Cross didn't need blood anymore. They were actually turning people away. Said, we've got plenty right now. How about coming back in a couple of weeks when we're going to need more? But they didn't show up. If I think that the statistic says that if only 2% or 3% more people gave blood on a regular basis, we'd never have a shortage. But that's another story.
Yeah.
But what is the essence of 9/11, and what should we learn from it? There's no greater organization right now than Prager University that is teaching our kids and other young people, and maybe even the rest of us, about the greatness of America and the significance of presidents, of successful people, of organizations, and they have their perspective on what we should know about 9/11 that ought to be shown to all of our kids in schools these days. This should be required viewing.
Everybody knows what happened on 9/11, right? The truth is most of my peers, I was born after 2001, don't. They almost certainly don't know why it happened. Most probably don't even know who did it. Such things aren't taught in schools now. So here's what took place on that fateful Tuesday, what the United States of America did about it, and why it's one of the most important days in American history. September 11, 2001 began as a beautiful morning on the East Coast. America was at peace, not embroiled in any foreign war. Passengers boarded their early flights, headed to business meetings, or to visit relatives across the country. Tragically, they were not the only ones who boarded planes that morning. 19 Islamic organized by the terrorist group that calls itself Al-Qaeda, directed by its leader Osama bin Laden and drawn from 4 Arab countries, also boarded planes that morning. All of the planes, the terrorists were split among 4 of them, were cross-country flights. Their tanks were filled to capacity with jet fuel. Within an hour after takeoff, these 19 terrorists would hijack the planes, brutally murder defenseless stewardesses and pilots, and kill 3,000 innocent people. At 8:46 a.m., a hijacked American Airlines flight leaving Boston crashed into the North Tower of the World Trade Center, the international symbol of America's economic power. 17 minutes later, a second hijacked plane, also departed from Boston, crashed into the World Trade Center's South Tower. The 2 planes, spewing their jet fuel, ignited fires that burned hot enough to compromise the building's structural integrity. Hundreds of New York firefighters and police officers raced up the towers to rescue the victims. Quite suddenly, the buildings collapsed, killing 343 firefighters, 60 police officers, and thousands of trapped office workers. A third hijacked plane, leaving Washington's Dulles Airport, crashed into the Pentagon, the headquarters of the U.S. military. 125 Pentagon workers were killed. The passengers of a 4th hijacked plane, this one leaving Newark International Airport shortly after the others, had just enough time to learn, via their cell phones, of the other attacks. Those on board decided that the nightmare would stop with them. Unarmed, with no hope of survival, they fought the terrorists, crashing the plane in an empty field in Pennsylvania. They gave their lives so that more Americans would not die. We learned later that this plane, United Airlines Flight 93, had been heading for either the White House or U.S. Capitol. The Islamic terrorists who launched these attacks made a number of claims about their motivations. But here's the truth. They did not murder thousands of Americans because they disagreed with America's Middle East policy. And they certainly didn't do it because they were poor and hopeless. They were all either from wealthy or middle-class Arab families. They attacked America because they despised its values, most especially its freedom and tolerance. The United States, as the guardian of freedom in the West, had to be brought down. This attack would start that process. It would show the world that America was weak, that America lacked the will to safeguard its liberties and people. Bin Laden called America a paper tiger. In the days immediately after the attacks, the terrorist leader and his many supporters in the Muslim Middle East believed he had proved his point. Mothers across the Muslim world named their babies Osama. Bin Laden's face adorned posters in homes, and kids in Pakistan wore Bin Laden t-shirts. But on the afternoon of September 14th, President George W. Bush visited the twisted, still smoldering wreckage of Ground Zero, where the Twin Towers had stood, and megaphone in hand, promised that America would not be cowed. "I can hear you," he said. "The rest of the world hears you. And the people who knocked these buildings down will hear from all of us soon." And they did. America launched its war on terror, destroyed the terrorist leadership, and sent Bin Laden into a decade of running and hiding. Within 6 months, kids in Pakistan were no longer wearing Bin Laden t-shirts. And 10 years later, the CIA located and a team of Navy SEALs killed the terrorist leader. America will always have her enemies. There will always be those who despise our freedoms, who hate our democracy, who want to see America buckle in the face of tyranny, to sacrifice our way of life to appease those who despise it. And we will always be faced with a choice: to surrender our freedoms or to preserve them, to grovel before those who hate us, or to honor the lives of the nearly 3,000 Americans who died on 9/11. But first, young Americans need to learn what happened that day. I'm CJ Pearson for Prager University. Thank you for watching this video. To keep PragerU videos free, please consider making a tax-deductible donation.
Make one does too, but it's not tax deductible.
Yeah,
I
yes.
to tell you that.
Yes, yes.
But yeah, there's a synopsis of exactly what happened, and this ought to be required viewing in our schools.
Yeah, we need to do a better job of educating people and also remembering, like, they didn't teach a lot about Pearl Harbor when I was in school, and that's concerning because that's also another day in history that is very important to us. And I hope that 9/11 doesn't turn into that, but it seems like we're headed there.
Yeah, we had it a lot, and it's just pathetic. And of course, the news media, the day after the attack, I remember CBS News reporter saying the alleged hijackers. All of a sudden, we were protecting the bad guys and the media.
Of course.
How pathetic. All right, coming up next.
We're going to be talking about what's going on in New York these days, especially, you know.
Yeah, your
Mayor
tax
Adams,
dollars at work there. Yeah. Mayor Adams is really blazing the trail of destroying that city, and it's Donald Trump's fault. That's
of
next.
Course.
Foxy Loxy, Coffee Fox, and Henny Penny, making life better for Savannahans with their kolaches, tacos, coffees. They're just amazing. Buy local and keep the torch lit.
Are you a mom or dad? Do you have little kids with big dreams? Well, hopefully your kids aren't white or Asian, because if they are, they will have a very hard time getting into their dream college or landing their dream job. Top schools and corporations are run by left-wing Democrats, and they openly discriminate against whites and Asians. So even if your daughter has the best test scores, even if your son has amazing grades, even if they spend extra hours studying and doing everything right, it won't be enough. Unless you suddenly discover that you're part Cherokee, or transgender, or in the country illegally. Otherwise, your kids are out of luck. Which begs the question, If Democrats are hurting your children, why would you ever vote for them? Stop the bigotry. Stop the insanity. Paid for by Citizens for Sanity.
I don't think it's an accident that I ended up writing music for a living, because I think I lived in a house where I saw how deeply it affected everyone in the house. And just how much everyone defined themselves by the music they listened to.
Music as a framework, I think, gave my parents my identity from a young age. You can like any music that you want if it makes you feel happy. And now when I hear certain songs, I think of them, and I think of them in their happiest state, and it makes me happy.
If they seem like they're having trouble talking about something, I try to tell them about a time when I felt something similar.
Whatever the issue was, we would tell them the pros and cons and how important it was, and that they had come to us because we could always help them. I think the real important point, we always told them, no matter what you do, no matter what happens, we will help you through it no matter what it is.
Serving the Savannah area with the power of the Shield since 1934, with personal insurance, employee benefits, and business insurance. With integrity, security, and trust. For more information, go to thepoweroftheshield.com.
Welcome back to Get Real America.
I'm Bill Edwards.
I'm Brittany Brown.
Happy Tuesday. Here it is, the 12th day of September. Happy 8th birthday to my grandson, Aiden.
Happy birthday, Aiden.
Yeah.
That's really fun.
Last night to celebrate.
Anywhere fun?
Hobbies, yeah, and it's, I love the food. I want to find out where they get their steaks, by the way, because they melt in your mouth. But I don't know why they serve us so much rice. We have enough rice to feed the 3rd Infantry Division. Everybody takes home, has take home, because you can't eat it all. It's just absolutely fantastic.
And it's called Miyabi?
Miyabi's.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
A Japanese restaurant.
Okay. I like it. Well, we have a lot of people here with us today. Lizzie Warren says, did he, meaning Joe Biden, tell any stories about Bo's heroics at the World Trade Center? Didn't hear any of those yesterday.
No.
I don't think they let him talk for very long after the incident in Vietnam, but Steve Stanton Sr. says, did somebody catch George W. Rhino Bush's remarks yesterday? I did not. Did you see anything from George W.?
I did not. I'm sure he had some.
Yeah.
But at least he respected the troops, and there was a great story they were doing yesterday. I think Glenn Beck had about the one of the officers from the Pentagon that was nearly killed. He was in the room where one of the rooms where the plane came in, and he was covered with jet fuel, from burning jet fuel, and spent months and months in the hospital recuperating and recovering. And he's now a senator, and he was Bill Birdsong, and it was just an amazing story. But he said that he didn't mention it, but a caller called in right after that and said that President Bush came in to visit all of the injured people at Walter Reed, and this guy he's completely wrapped in, he said he's got tubes coming out of everywhere, and he's completely wrapped up in gauze and things of that nature. And said the president came up and said, genuinely asked him, expressed his sympathies and thanks for his service to his country. Said he went to the foot of the bed and he saluted the soldier, and he held the salute until the Birdsong was able to get his arm up as far as he could to return the salute, and Bush didn't move. It was just you can. The latter months or so of the Bush administration was not something to write home about, but I'll take it over what we have now.
Yes, and Mary McCann Hybrider said the firefighters ran in because it was nearly impossible for a steel frame building to fall. Go to www.ae911truth.org for the truth. And then Lizzie Warren said, never forget, Bill Clinton declined an opportunity to take out Osama bin Laden before 9/11. I do remember that.
Well, in fact, he missed three
Twice.
opportunities.
Oh, was it 3?
Yeah.
That's exciting. So,
he was also responsible, along with several others, of making sure that the CIA and the FBI couldn't talk to each other and exchange information. So they wouldn't, if one knew, the other one didn't, or vice versa. So there was no investigation. What was disgusting about the FBI, and so far nobody's lost their job over this.
But it is the government, so
field agents were disturbed because they knew that these Arab guys were taking flying lessons, and it seemed to be just very odd that all of that so many of them were taking these flying lessons, but they were not concerned about learning how to land. They just wanted to know how to fly a plane. They sent messages to headquarters, and Washington pretty much, and the FBI headquarters just pretty much ignored it. Don't worry about it. And there was another caller that called in that said he was on a plane about 2 weeks beforehand, and he was sitting in the first class section. And he said these Arab guys got on the plane. And he said, and there was something. He said there was something about them. He said the hair on the back of his neck stood up as they walked in. And he said they came in, they sat down in their seats, and he said they had these cold stares that expressed no emotion, didn't interact with anybody else. But this was one of their rehearsal flights. So he said that when this happened, he realized what that was and why he righteously had that suspicious, one of those inner things that your reticular nerves react to.
Yeah, there's so many things that we found out after 9/11 that could have been done and wasn't done. So
far, nobody's been fired though.
Well, but the American people have been punished. I do think that the Patriot Act is the main thing that came from 9/11, and I think it's made us less free than we've ever been. So,
well, we're living in a police state now, and that's why we have to take this country back. The next election is going to be it. We don't take our country back then. We're in for a rough ride. America, as we know it, is gone completely.
Yeah, well, New York. We talked about it a little bit yesterday, but. Going down the tubes very quickly, and I think Mayor Adams trying to walk back some of the sanctuary city stuff because he's realizing that when you're a sanctuary city, you have to pay for things.
Yeah, this idealistic thing, it's just, but sooner or later, reality hits you between the eyes.
Support, and let me tell you something, New Yorkers. Never in my life have I had a problem that I did not see an ending to. I don't see an ending to this. I don't see an ending to this. This issue will destroy New York City. Destroy New York City. We're getting 10,000 migrants a month. One time we were just getting Venezuela. Now we're getting Ecuador. Now we're getting Russian-speaking coming through Mexico. Now we're getting Western Africa. Now we're getting people from all over the globe have made their minds up that they're going to come through the southern part of the border and come into New York City. And everyone is saying it's New York City's problem. Every community in this city is going to be impacted. We had a $12 billion deficit that we're going to have to cut. Every service in this city is going to be impacted. All of us. And so I say to you, as I turn it over to you, this is some of the most educated, some of the most knowledgeable, probably more of my commissioners and deputy commissioners and chiefs live in this community. So as you asked me a question about migrants, tell me what role you played. How many of you organized to stop what they're doing to us? How many of you were part of the movement to say We're seeing what this mayor is trying to do, and they're destroying New York City. It's going to come to your neighborhoods. All of us are going to be impacted by this. I said it last year when we had 15,000. I'm telling you now, with 110,000, the city we knew, we're about to lose. And we're all in this together, all of us. Staten Island is saying, send them out to Manhattan. Manhattan is saying, send them out to Queens. Queens is saying, send them out to Brooklyn. No, it's not the game we can play. Open the floor up.
So he's getting a little taste of what Texas is getting. Lizzie Warren says the Patriot Act also didn't make us any safer. You're not wrong. And Lizzie Warren, Eric Adams is funny. 10,000 a month, poor little baby. Small towns in Texas get more than that
a day.
Yes. And Steve Stanton Sr. says, I have no sympathy for Adams or New York City. This is what happens when bad policy is actually put to work, right? They thought that they weren't going to have all these migrants, but they were going to be saving everyone because they were a sanctuary city. So
I didn't know they taught Russian in Mexican schools. That's interesting.
Well, he did mention that everyone from around the world is coming through and wanting to come into this country, and they want to go to New York. Why on earth would they want to go to New York?
Can't imagine.
They have some of the best benefits for illegal immigrants.
That's right. Yeah, the city that never sweeps.
Yes, and Mary McCann Hybrider said, this isn't just a New York problem, it's happening everywhere. Exactly. You're absolutely right. I actually, someone saw this woman out on someone's lawn here in the Savannah area, and they posted a picture, and they're like, does anyone know who this is? Like, they've been on my neighbor's lawn for, like, since last night, and it was the morning. And they went and talked to this person, gave him a bottle of water, but didn't speak English. Mm-hmm. Like, how are you supposed to help people that you can't communicate with?
Oh, I don't know. Maybe the school system has an idea. Hire translators.
Oh, geez. Yeah, let's do that.
No. Let them learn English, okay?
So kind of tying this into 9/11, it took 16 hijackers, these people, to come in and do a terrorist attack on New York, as well as Pennsylvania and the other areas that were impacted. The people coming over the border now, I mean, there are so many coming in, and a lot of them are fighting age men. I don't know about you, Bill, but that makes me very, very uncomfortable.
Mm-hmm. Exactly. And good on that judge that told the White House that you cannot take that because they've tried to put the barriers up in the Rio Grande. They said no, you can leave them there. But they're trying, and now they're trying to come up with some law where they have to stay in Texas. The Governor Abbott can't ship them out.
Well, and here's the thing: Abbott has not done enough. He has definitely he's done a little bit to get a little credit, but he hasn't done enough to keep us safe. I think that is the responsibility of the governors, and the poor people living in Texas should be raising hell because he is not doing anything about the border to the level that he should be.
If you want to have vigilantism, that's what we need.
Yep, I 100% agree. Mm-hmm. And Lizzie Warren said Venezuela emptied their prisons to send them to the U.S. How does that make you feel, Bill?
As well as it did when Castro emptied his, when we had the big boat lift and from Cuba, and how Miami turned into the cesspool that it became because of Jimmy Carter, the peanut farmer. And we brought all these people in from Cuba with our shrimp boats.
Yeah, and Mary McCann Hybrider says, did you hear that Biden wants them to wear ankle bracelets to stay in Texas? Mm-hmm. I had not heard that, so that's fun. Yeah. That's really fun.
Yeah, where are we going to get the money for that, and who's going to monitor it?
Yeah, well, where are all these people coming from, Bill? So Ben Bergquam, who is one of the best reporters on the border, he's been, he went to Europe as well and was kind of investigating what has happened to those countries since they have allowed all this immigration to happen. And it's not good over there. It has not helped their country any. And let's see. I think that I can't believe the footage coming out of the Panama Canal. I think we have a clip of that.
Mm-hmm.
Never seen anything like this. It's a sea of people. Look at this. Look at this. All the way down to the river, guys. Thousands, 4,000 in one day in Lajas Blancas. just being completely overrun, guys. Completely overrun because of Secretary Mayorkas and Joe Biden. Democrats did this. Kevin McCarthy, what are you doing to stop it? What do you make of this, man?
Dude, this could get violent in a heartbeat, man. And they said it is emptied out. It's emptied out. A lot of the buses have already left. There were hundreds and hundreds more people earlier today. This is insane. I've never seen anything like this. It's just every month growing to a whole new level.
Yeah. What do you? So you're Panamanian. What do you make? But American. What do you make of what Joe Biden and Secretary
Panama
Mayorkas are doing?
is taking the brunt of open border policy in the United States. Every one of these people is being given a free meal 3 times a day by Panama at Panama's expense, and it's swelling every month to numbers that are so chaotic and out of control. And Panama's just stuck in the middle of it all. They're just stuck here in the middle of the whole thing.
You know, the one thing that really bothers me is that we're not only destroying our own country, but we're destroying other countries in the process because of our bad border policies. And I don't think it's going to get any better at this point. And Lizzie Warren says, I beg to differ with Ben's assessment. Your neighbor who voted for Biden owns this debacle. Mm-hmm. And Mary McCann Hybrider says, is this the great replacement of American workers? Our workforce is decreasing exponentially. You're absolutely right. But if you think that these people are coming to work in our country, they are not. They're coming to get the free benefits that you and I provide with our tax dollars. And they just keep writing checks. Here's the other thing. How is this legal? I don't know any taxpayer. Well, I'll take that back. I know very few taxpayers that would be okay with their money going to stuff like this. It's very frustrating, Bill, to have these people being taken care of when we don't even take care of our own citizens.
I think that a lot of people think that we're bottomless pits, and that's not the case. And this is a house of cards, and sooner or later it is going to fall.
Well, we just can't keep spending. And I think that what's going to happen at the end of this month when the House meets in D.C., they're going to just kick the can down the road like they always do. They're not going to handle the crisis that we're in with money. And what that's going to do is just, it impacts your children. It impacts your grandchildren. So if you guys are for this, shame on you, because you're saddling all of these kids that are being born right now with all of this debt. We will never pay this back if we don't get a handle on it now. And, you know, I talked to someone that represents us and they said, you know, we're never going to get to a balanced budget, which I think is bullcrap. Like, why can't we get to a balanced budget? I have to balance a budget. Why don't you have to balance a budget?
Exactly. We balance the budget here in Georgia. We balance the budget in South Carolina. We do it in Florida. And that's the only way to survive. And for Mayor Adams to have the unmitigated gall to say that there's no answer to this, well, what are we going to do? I'll tell you what we could do. First of all, we close the border immediately, if not sooner. And then we start deporting these people immediately, if not sooner. We were flying them all over the place. We can fly them back. We can send them back on the buses. We can send them back on the trains and get them the hell out of here. And because the crime rate went plummeting in Cuba when Castro emptied his prisons, and look what it did. Look what it did for Miami. Did you see Scarface? By the way,
yeah.
By the way, if the F word weren't in the English language, they couldn't have made the movie. But that's another story. But nevertheless, we cannot. If you were on a lifeboat, for example, and you see 50 people out floating in the water and they don't have a boat, and that they're coming to you to try to get in. You can only take so many before that boat sinks.
Yep.
And this is where we are.
It sure is. And Steve Stanton Sr. says self-inflicted wounds. Lizzie Warren says freebies is the only reason 99% are coming. Yep. And suggestion, the Abigails and Hamiltons at the landing should open their doors to migrant families. We should send them a letter. We should ask them, will you please take these migrant families? Actually, no. There's not a lot of families coming through. How about you take these migrant illegal men that are coming, that are fighting age, and you guys take care of them?
Yeah. So
So I don't know what we're going to do to solve this. I don't think that the Biden administration is going to do it. I have very little faith that Greg Abbott is going to do what needs to be done. Obviously, Arizona and California are out of the question. They're not going to do anything. And, New Mexico.
Invite them in.
Yeah. And New Mexico is not going to do anything either because, let's be honest, their governor is a left-wing lunatic as well.
Yeah. But she thinks that she can suspend the Second Amendment of the Constitution, for God's sake.
Yes, she does.
For at least for 30 days.
Well, but the sheriff's department actually said that they are not going to be enforcing it because it's unconstitutional. So cheers to those sheriffs.
A Democrat.
Yes.
Said, no, I'm sorry. We're not going to enforce this order. It's illegal.
Yep. And
unconstitutional.
It sure
Good
is.
on him.
Yes. And this weekend, Bill, you were out and about.
Yes, I was. There was a lot of stuff going on at Lake Mare. We'll tell you more about one of the episodes, but a great nonprofit organization. Actually, I knew that there was some sort of an organization, but I didn't know how well established they were for sickle cell anemia, which is just a horrible disease that affects mostly blacks. And in fact, I worked when I was doing my radio show. One of my producers for about 2 years was just a delightful young black girl. Just a recent graduate from Savannah State, and she had sickle cell.
Oh, wow.
And it was one of those things where one day she's just fine. The next day she is, really in some sort of a crisis. And I can't explain it. I don't know what all the symptoms are, but it just comes on. It's one of those things where you can be feeling great one minute, and the next minute you're in agony. From this disease. So they're trying to find a cure for it. There was a walk for it coming on this past Saturday. I happened to run into these folks out at Lake Mare who were out for their walk for sickle cell, and had a chance to speak with the president of the local organization, the Sickle Cell Association of Savannah, Angela Shepard.
Good morning, Savannah. I am Angela Shepard with the Sickle Cell Association of Savannah. Today is September 9th, 2023, and this is our Walk for Love. We are so excited that we have the community involved today to assist us in raising awareness for sickle cell anemia. We have vendors, Red Cross, we have internal medicine, core health, and some other people I can't think right now. And then we have several walkers, groups of walkers, St. James AME Church. We have, oh gosh, I can't call any of the names right now, but we're so thankful that everyone has come out today to join us and raising awareness for this most worthy cause. If you've not made it out here yet, if you did not register, you still have time to come and join us.
Yeah, I think I was just talking to Mayor Johnson. You need a better PR man. I didn't know about this organization. You've been around for 50 years, for goodness sake.
Yes, it has. This organization was actually founded back in 1973. It was founded first as a steering committee. The United Way had funds, but they didn't have an organization purpose for donating to a cause where there was no actual organization in existence. So that just shows just how much people were concerned about sickle cell anemia back in the 70s. Well, they formed a steering committee. Mr. John Finney, who was the executive director of EOA, was actually one of the founding members. He was the founding chairman of the organization. So he served for many years. There were several presidents under him. And then one nurse that who was pretty much the face of sickle cell, Miss Parnell Jones, she worked closely with that organization as well. So what they did almost 50 years ago prepared us for what we're doing now, and we're just counting the years and moving forward on the mission for this association.
Well, we're always making progress in cures and things, but how far have we come here? What do you think we're on the precipice of something?
So far as a cure?
Yeah.
Well, it's amazing that you would ask that question. The reason why I'm involved in this organization is because my son, my third son, was born with sickle cell anemia. And at the time that he was born, that was one of our main questions. We wanted to know if there was a cure. Well, we did find out that there was a cure because in 2005, he had a bone marrow transplant and cured him of the sickle cell anemia. And often you're searching for a cure, And I often say that the cure was actually in the home because our oldest son was his perfect match
Wow.
for the bone marrow transplant. So at age 7 in 2005, he had a bone marrow transplant. So some 26 years later, he is sickle cell free, and we're thankful for that. But there's still so much work to do. There's
Sure.
still so much work to do because they don't consider it a universal cure. But as far as we're concerned, that is the cure. And we're walking and we're witness to the fact that that is a cure.
All right. Well, you must be pleased with the support you're getting.
I am. We have support from, we partner with Curtis B. Cooper Primary Health Care. And then several years ago, during the founding years, Chatham County Health Department was a part of the initial organization that helped to form it, Memorial Health University Hospital. And today we still partner with Memorial Health University Hospital in providing services directly to the pediatric oncology and hematology clinic. So we have several projects that we work with them. In fact, they're out here today as well. They have a table and they're walking.
Well, good for them. Well, keep up the great work, and we're praying for a cure.
Thank you so much now.
Well, thank you, ma'am.
All right, come on, Savannah, and join us.
Well, Van, what brings you out here so early on a Saturday morning?
Well, it's the 50th anniversary of the Sickle Cell Association of Savannah since 1973. They've been working and advocating on behalf of people who have sickle cell, which is a chronic disease that, often from birth, it's a genetic disease. And, people live and they suffer, and sometimes they perish from it.
Well, it looks like you're drawing a nice crowd.
Oh, yeah. Well, it's a beautiful day in Savannah. First of all, it's not 300 degrees. But, again, there's so many families that are affected. Mostly African Americans are affected with sickle cell. We know there's more research going on. People are living longer. They're doing better. Also, resources to families that suffer. If you're working, it's hard for you to get off of work every time your child has a crisis. So this is really to support this very, very special community.
I worked with a wonderful young lady who had it, and it was it's such a cruel disease. I mean,
It is.
she just couldn't come to work.
Right, and when it happens, it happens. There's no rhyme or reason with it. But as research gets better, we'll try to find ways to help it, and hopefully find a cure for it.
I think this got to get more publicity. I didn't even know this association existed locally.
50 years. I mean, this has been a very small but mighty band. And again, with social media and the proliferation of shows like yours, people are learning more about it.
You had family been affected by this?
I have not had any family, but very close friends all my life that have had sickle cell. A few that have died because of sickle cell. And so we just need to make sure that people are able to live with sickle cell.
All right. Well, thanks for coming out and supporting this.
So thank you for being here.
Yes, sir.
So we're hoping for a cure. Meanwhile, we're hoping for never having to go to war again, but there's always a possibility. And we're preparing for it right here in Savannah. We'll tell you more when we get back.
Serving the Savannah area with the power of the Shield since 1934, with personal insurance, employee benefits, and business insurance. With integrity, security, and trust. For more information, go to thepoweroftheshield.com.
Foxy Loxy, Coffee Fox, and Henny Penny, making life better for Savannahans with their kolaches, tacos, coffees. They're just amazing. Buy local and keep the torch lit.
When you're looking to buy a business or sell a business, the experts at Best Business Brokers have you covered. Whether you're ready to cash in on your years of hard work or you're taking that first step in buying a business of your own, they're here to guide you through the process and make sure you get the best outcome possible. By having Best Business Brokers assist you when you buy a business or sell a business, they handle the legwork of the intricate process. This ensures a smooth transition of ownership, allowing you to get to work immediately or receive payment for your business as soon as possible. With base operations in Savannah and Charleston, they service all of Georgia and South Carolina. If you're considering starting a business here, the mild winters and 5-tiered economic areas make these the perfect places to do so. If you're ready to buy a business or sell a business, then you're ready to contact Best Business Brokers. Visit their website at b3brokers.com or call at 912-349-0940.
Savannah, I'm coming home, Savannah, we'll never be alone, Savannah, the beauty of the world, Savannah, let's all take a ride, Savannah, I'm coming home, Savannah.
Welcome back to Get Real America.
I'm Bill Edwards.
I'm Brittany Brown.
Glad to have you aboard this Tuesday morning.
Yes, and a lot of comments this morning. So Christy Maud said sheriffs have much more authority than they even realize. I 100% agree with that. Mary McCann Hybrider, I can't understand why Abbott is allowing this to happen to Texas. He could shut this down with the Rangers and the National Guard.
Yep.
I feel very similarly. I have no idea how he's let it get this bad, especially when it's doing so much damage to Texas. And then...
Say nothing of the rest of us.
Yeah, well, and then Mary McCann Hybrider asked Christy Maud if sickle cell was an autoimmune disease, and she said it is similar to Epstein-Barr and lupus, exhaustion and fatigue. You never know what you'll feel like each day, but it is not a autoimmune disease because it attacks the red blood cells. Mm-hmm. And then Steve Stanton Sr. says, Miss Angela sure is a great spokesperson. What a delight. Christy Maud, Mary McCann Hybrider. Okay, I read that one. Steve Stanton says, Lord, it's hard to believe 50 years was only 1973.
Yeah, I know. Yeah, it's scary to me, too.
And then Christy Maud said that she feels old. And let's
Welcome
see.
to the club.
Yeah. And then Lizzie Warren, her comment is, if the currently installed POTUS has his way, we will be in a hot war with Russia any day now. He has consistently tried provoking Putin into escalating things further.
Yeah, since I found out we were sending them M1 tanks, that doesn't sit well with me. And then, of course, they're getting the F-16s and things of that nature. So we're already fighting a proxy war with Russia. And then we have the unmitigated gall to tell the Russians, don't get any weapons, or tell China, don't send any weapons, or North Korea, don't sell any weapons to the Russians, okay?
Also, I think for me, it's the bigger issue is how connected Biden has been to all of the Ukrainian shenanigans and how corrupt he is. And then the fact that we're sending all this money to Ukraine, but the Hawaiians get $700.
Well,
so a lot of issues.
Yeah, and the Chinese, and also too, didn't he just released more funds for the peace-loving Muslims over there and it did it on 9/11. Did yesterday. Releasing billions and more dollars to them.
Here's the thing. Do you think that makes people happy, Bill? I think people are more mad that he does stuff like that, and yet he's running for re-election. So what are they doing?
Well, apparently the Democrats don't care, but fortunately we have a bunch of people here who still want to defend America. And the best way they say to avoid war is to be ready for it. And we better be, because it could be coming. And we've got, you're going to be hearing the sound of freedom here for the next couple of weeks. We have fighter jets from all over the country that are here training in something called William Tell. And we have more. Flynn Snyder from WTOC has the story.
Eyes to the sky this week, the William Tell competition taking off from the Air Dominance Center in Savannah today. Military teams from across the country are coming together, competing in the skies over your head this week. Our Flynn Snyder spoke with the plane spotters as the fighter jets blasted off.
Well, this is being described as the Super Bowl of military air competitions, and it's drawing a lot of people out to see the event for themselves. Well, not only can you hear these jets, but you can also feel them. Fighter jets took off from the Savannah Hilton Head International Airport throughout the day. The William Tell competition returns following a nearly 2-decade hiatus. The 165th Airlift Wing says the pause was due to the War on Terror. 9 units from active duty, Air National Guard, and the reserves will be tested on their skills in maneuvers against enemy planes and are competing to be named as the top fighter integration team. Even though the action is happening high above our area, several people came to watch from the ground, hoping to catch a glimpse of these fighter jets in action.
It's funny, I've been in the business almost 50 years and it still excites me. There's something about it, I don't know what it is, it's an inner feeling.
Now, according to a social media post from the Air Dominance Center, a military official called the competition a show of force and validates U.S. air dominance worldwide. Yeah, the competition is expected to run through this week until September 15th. Reporting at Savannah Hilton Head International Airport, Flint Snyder, WTOC News.
So they're going to be here. There'll be an opening ceremony that's going to take place tomorrow, and I'll be there for that. And we'll have more for you coming up and talk to some of the fighter pilots that are here. These guys have come here from around the country. This is the Air Dominance Center here, the Command Readiness Training Center, is the best in the world. It is the most updated. They just had a brand new state-of-the-art hangar that was dedicated back in September, and there is no better place to train our pilots because we have limited airspace. There's very little commercial traffic. We don't have to worry about that. We're right on the coast, so we can communicate. We can go out and do refueling operations. You can do all sorts of target practice, and they also are very close to being deployed to aircraft carriers if need be. And we also have the Townsend training. This is thousands and thousands of square miles. We have the Townsend bombing range down near Brunswick. In fact, the people down there voted not to develop any more of the area, so they would continue to have that bombing range where they can take practice. Because when you're dropping bombs, you have to remember that you don't get over the target before you drop them. You drop because there's a thing called physics. And the bomb is going at the same speed as the airplane when it's released. So it's going to keep going for quite some time. So you have to have some practice as to when you're going to release the bomb so that it doesn't hit civilians or, houses and things of that nature, or kill a whale out there. Of course, they don't care about killing whales up in the Northeast. Yeah. Nevertheless, we have, but this thing is this called William Tell are going to be out there, and there's going to be a plane that drags a target type device behind the aircraft that these guys are going to be shooting at. Hence, like the William Tell, if you know the story of the dad shooting the apple off the kid's head. So that's and I don't know why it was suspended for 19 years. I think, but nevertheless, thank God they're doing it again.
Yeah, and Christy Mont says, love this. I hope to see them in the sky. When we were stationed in Maryland, we saw the Blue Angels practicing often.
Yeah, we have F-22s, F-35s, F-16s, F-15s, and, of course, all the fueling operations and things of that nature. They also go through all sorts of scenarios of having MASH units, triage and things of that nature. It's quite an operation, and it's quite, by the way, it's if you talk to the Chamber of Commerce, it's also very good for the economy because these people have to be eating in restaurants and doing all sorts of things while they're here. They do have their own facility out there where they stay. It's a beautiful, any motel would be proud to call that their own. So they have a nice facility for them to stay in. But this is quite an operation, and we have the best in the world right here.
Yeah, and Mary McCann Hybrider said the sky was very busy yesterday. Mm-hmm. And Lizzie Warren says U.S. air dominance will decline since our Air Force has lowered standards to increase diversity over meritocracy.
Well, there's that.
Yes. But I do think that at least there's something that's good for the economy, Bill, because there are very few things that are going well for the economy right now. But glad to have those people here. Always fun to have more airplanes in the air and watching those firefighters.
Yeah, talked to an F-35 pilot last week, and he hasn't seen it. He can't get into politics, of course, but we are trying to train the best, at least at this point. But this is something that one of the reasons we tell you about how important this next election is, so we can get people and get all these woke cretins out of the Pentagon, and people like Pete Buttigieg, our transportation secretary, who decides that we don't have enough black pilots or we don't have enough trans pilots, and then as it turns out, then we don't have enough pilots.
It's weird how that works, isn't it?
It really is.
It's amazing. They're really good at solving problems or creating them and making us all deal with it.
Yeah, they create the problem and then they decide we're going to solve it for you.
Yeah, it's always exciting and fun. I hope that the government stops solving problems.
Yeah.
All right. Well, that's going to do it for us today.
We're going to try to solve them more tomorrow, though.
Yes, absolutely.
But we do need your help.
Yes, so make sure you become a member. You can donate. Go to thelocalspin.com/GRA. You can also advertise with your business or become an investor.
Mm-hmm. And you can be a silent partner too, if that's the way you feel about it. All we need is your money. Please help, or we won't be here much longer.
Thanks so much for
That's
tuning
simple. Yeah. We'll see you tomorrow. Remember, you can't spell Democrat without RAT.